President Trump has finally supported the idea of sending up to $5,000 to new mothers all over America. And in this video, I'm going to show you how the media is calling this a terrible idea, while they're okay with illegal immigrants receiving thousands of dollars in other parts of this country. I want to start this video off by showing you exactly what the president has said about this so-called baby bonus.
Mr. President, there are reports that you're considering doing something for moms across the country, giving them some type of bonus so that they have. Are you considering that?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Now, this isn't some spur-of-the-moment response from the president. People around him have been talking about the burden of raising children in this country and how that's attributing to the declining birth rate.
The birth rate is very low in almost every country. And it's something, unless that changes, and nothing seems to be turning that around. Humanity is dying.
And the reason why many Americans don't have as many kids has a lot to do with the monthly costs involved to raise a child.
Starting with childcare, on the low end we have Mississippi, which is $7,280 a year. On the high end we have Washington, D.C., which is $25,523 a year. Next up, the average food expense. In a 17-state tie, the low end is $1,768 per year, and in a 13-state tie, the high end is $2,111. Next up is clothes. On the low end, you're going to be spending around $100 a year, where on the high end, you're going to be spending $300 plus per year. Next up is rent. If you have kids, you're going to be spending about $1,000 more per year. This is based off Mississippi, Alabama, and Arkansas, where on the high end, in Hawaii, you could be spending up to $4,176 more. Next up is transportation. In a 9-state tie, the low end is $1,791, and on the high end, in Maryland and Virginia, you're going to be spending around $2,194. Last up is health insurance. On the low end, in Michigan, you're going to be paying around $844 more per year, where on the high end in Hawaii, you're going to be paying around $4,010 more per year. That brings us to our estimated annual totals for infants and toddlers. On the low end is Mississippi, totaling $15,555 a year, where on the high end, you guessed it, Hawaii, $30,506 per year.
I mean, it's extremely unfortunate, but despite being the world's biggest economy, we've only made it harder for people to start families. In fact, according to recent surveys, families are spending up to 20% of their annual income just on food. Then you have childcare, which can eat up anywhere from 7 to 23% of your annual income. And if you think this is happening by chance, you've not been keeping up. People like Larry Fink and Bill Gates have been advocating for lowering the population for quite some time now.
Tricky demographics. These countries will rapidly develop robotics and AI and technology. And the social problems that one will have in substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations.
You see, these people only look after their own financial incentives. They want us to become like South Korea or Japan, where the fertility rate is so low that they have no option but to open their borders to immigrants just so they can keep the shops running.
Young Japanese people no longer want to do tough work outdoors. There aren't enough people coming into the construction sector, so we decided to hire more foreigners.
Nearly 400,000 foreign laborers here in South Korea are reportedly undocumented.
This can lead to an ironic situation where local farms, short on labor, have little choice but to hire undocumented foreign workers.
Now, the media, of course, didn't like Donald Trump's plan at all. And let me show you a clip to expose their hypocrisy.
The White House is looking into offering $5,000 cash bonuses. Okay. I am incredibly insulted by this. I don't know what $5,000 is supposed to do. And it's not even $5,000 because you have to cut it in half because you got to pay taxes on it.
So they're saying $5,000 will be too little to help any new mothers. And this is the same kind of rhetoric we heard from people like Jasmine Crockett.
He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID that was done by a Democratic House.
Well, where were these women when Joe Biden gave $700 to Hawaii victims, or when Kamala Harris handed out $750 checks to Hurricane Helene survivors? I'm sure that money could help those folks start rebuilding their lives. Now look, I'll be the first to say that just handing out money to new mothers isn't enough. I still believe we need to give a similar kind of relief to our elderly, our veterans, and anyone whose money was stolen in the last few years. And if we are giving these baby bonus checks, we have to make sure this money goes out to people who at least pay their taxes. However, let me remind you that these so-called financial experts only make noise when we're giving money to American citizens. They don't even talk about the millions we're handing out to illegal immigrants.
This would make Minnesota a magnet for more illegal immigrants. If I went to Russia, would I be expecting to get the sorts of benefits that Minnesota taxpayers are giving to people who are here illegally? Illegal immigrants in Minnesota in 2025 will be given $7,000 worth of benefits. $7,000 per person in the form of Minnesota Care benefits here in Minnesota, paid for by Minnesota taxpayers. Over 17,000 people who have already enrolled for this program here in Minnesota. In fiscal year 2025 alone, that is going to equate to at least $107 million in this fiscal year right now.
The number of undocumented immigrants who applied for this program is 3 times what the lawmakers expected. And you can be damn sure this will only draw in more illegals from all over America to Minnesota. Now, what's crazy is that according to recent polls, illegal immigration was the biggest concern for the people of Minnesota, and yet their lawmakers are doing exactly the opposite of what the people want. And we're seeing this trend in other parts of the country as well. I already showed you that if you're an illegal immigrant with kids in New York, you can get thousands of dollars.
Now, what this flyer says is working or not, file your taxes and we can get the maximum refund for your family. And the paper says that if you have 1 child, you can get over $7,000 in a refund. And if you have up to 3 children, you can get over $14,000.
That's why we try to help people by, providing them with refunds,
So you guys are trying to help the migrants with their taxes then,
Yes.
to help them get refunds, help them get some money back from the government.
Yes.
Meanwhile, these same lawmakers are standing up against the plan to send $300 to $500 checks to the people of New York who have suffered a lot thanks to all the inflation over the last few years.
In my budget next month, they will send you a check to buy your groceries for a month or whatever you want to spend it on. And if you're an individual earning up to $150,000 a year, it's $300. What does that look like? All right. How about that for individuals?
And we already know what kind of insane decisions they're making in California.
Are you kidding me? In the state of California, they are right now pushing a bill that would prioritize illegal aliens in the state dispersal of funds for people who were wildfire victims in Los Angeles. So they don't care about United States citizens. This is very clear. So here's Gavin Newsom going after Donald Trump on his tariffs, yet his people down in the state legislature are going to make sure that if you're a U.S. citizen, you are left disenfranchised. You are left without a home.
And yet, you won't hear a mainstream news channel discussing any of this. Now, I want to share another news story with you which concerns all of us. You see, for days, the mainstream media had been reporting that the Trump administration might raise taxes on millionaires, but the president said this about these rumors.
And secondly, would you support a millionaire tax?
I think it would be very disruptive because a lot of the millionaires would leave the country. In the old days, they left states. They go from one state to the other. Now with transportation so quick and so easy, they leave countries. You'll lose a lot of money if you do that.
Now, he's not wrong about the millionaires moving out of the country due to increased taxes. However, some of his biggest supporters believe that we have no choice but to raise taxes.
For no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security, at some point in time, you need a little something for the effort. The Washington Post today talks about how the great Russ Vought, Scott Bessent, others, Vice President Vance, are not just open to, but kind of working on the ability to have an increase in taxes for, if not the upper bracket, then millions, people with $1 million or more at 40%. Something we have advocated strongly and worked for many years here because it is the right thing to do. The working class and middle class need additional tax relief, and this is the way to get it.
Look, you can disagree with Steve Bannon over a lot of things, but we have to, and I mean have to, address this growing wealth inequality in this country. Our debt keeps going up because we're paying a lot of money to continue helping the most vulnerable members of our society. And I'm always in favor of removing taxes on things like tips, but we have to start getting money from the richest people in this country in one way or another. Now, I want to end this video by sharing a story that has given me some hope about the health of our kids. For the last few weeks, RFK Jr. has been raising alarms on just how sick the people of this country are getting.
When my uncle was president, 3% of American kids had chronic disease. Today, it's around 60%. And these are a broad category, the ones that Marty mentioned, like ADHD, the neurological disorders, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, and autism. 74% of American kids cannot qualify for military service. How are we going to maintain our global leadership with such a sick population?
Well, he's finally delivered on his promise of removing all those harmful dyes from our food.
Today, the FDA is taking action to remove petroleum-based food dyes from the U.S. food supply and from medications.
And according to him, it would not have been possible without the president's support.
If you think that we're not serious about this, you're making a bad judgment. So, and I have a president now behind me who does not care. He doesn't care what he's been called by every soda company, every candy company, every processed food company. And most of the time he tells me and says, I don't care, you do what you need to do and I'm going to block for you.
Say what you want, it looks like Donald Trump has fully embraced RFK Jr.'s idea of a healthy America. I mean, just imagine if RFK didn't join the Trump camp. Chances are the truth about all these dangerous chemicals would have been covered up by these multi-billion-dollar food companies. That's gonna do it for today. What do you think about these baby bonus checks? Also, do you think we should raise taxes on millionaires? Feel free to share your thoughts with everyone in the comments down below. Thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.